As Honeywell opens up its new headquarters, other companies are still struggling to find their footing because of this pandemic. Joining us to talk about that is William Lee. He's the chief economist at the Milken Institute think tank. William, the pandemic has really walloped the job market around the world. China's emerging, but some of these small and mid-sized companies, they were really battered. Talk to us about the landscape out there.
Well, in the United States, I think as you know, the small and medium-sized companies are the greatest source of employment. And because of this absolute lockdown that we have here, unemployment rates have gone up tremendously. Well, the hope is that when we unlock the economy, the small and medium-sized companies will come back. And a lot of the medium-sized companies are contractors to the larger ones. And the larger ones have ties to various international companies, including Huawei.
And we're hearing from a lot of experts saying the economy getting going again, it's not going to be easy. This is going to be a long slog. A lot of industries still aren't back to full capacity. How slow will this recovery be, and what are some of the signs we should be looking for? What are you going to be looking for?
One of the things I'm going to be looking for is whether or not there are going to be a lot of bankruptcies. We know that on the retail sector, the small, medium-sized businesses, the longer they stay out, the more likely they are to go bankrupt and never come back again. The larger sized companies are the ones that probably will have the most stable employment base. So it really is a race between getting some kind of assurance that it's safe to come back to work again so that the companies can open up. That will save that corporate infrastructure that's so vital for certainly the United States being able to contain the high unemployment rates. From a global perspective, one of the things that I'd be looking for would be, how is the global supply chain holding together? Will the demise of a lot of these smaller size suppliers that are parts of the global supply chain be so hurt that the global supply chain itself will not be able to find substitutes, and that'll be impaired? Because if the U.S. part of the supply chain becomes impaired, that'll have global effects, including well into Asia and certainly into China, because a lot of the Chinese factories that are now in operation are having huge inventory accumulations because there just aren't orders received from U.S. companies wanting to buy a lot of the industrial output and intermediate outputs that China's putting out.
And that's one of the problems, isn't it? I mean, everybody's kind of coming back online slowly. China may be recovering, but it's a global economy. You have to wait for the other countries to kind of pick up speed as well.
Absolutely. And in fact, one of the things that we noticed from China's economic production numbers is that because China still has a lot of state-owned enterprises, it's very easy to order companies to snap up production numbers. But unless there are orders from around the world wanting to buy that output, and certainly the domestic economy in China hasn't become strong enough to buy everything, you see a lot of inventory accumulation. Inventory accumulation is very dangerous because companies eventually wind up with too much on hand and having to sell it at a fire sale. And those are the kind of uncertainties that no company wants, whether they're located in China or located in Europe or the United States.
William, I think back to the recession back in 2009, a lot of college graduates moved back into their parents' basements and just kind of stayed there. It was really tough for them to get jobs. This year, the college graduates, they didn't get their normal send-off. They had to forego the graduation ceremonies, chased from their schools. And they were well positioned going into graduation, but then all of a sudden the pandemic, things changing quickly in just a few months. What are their prospects like, and what advice would you give to college grads as they want to enter the workforce?
One of the things that we should always keep in mind is good people find good jobs. Well-skilled people will find good jobs. The question for this graduating class would be, can they find it quickly enough? Will the economy come back quickly enough? Because remember, one of the biggest problems facing the U.S. economy before the pandemic hit was that we couldn't find good people. We couldn't find enough good workers. And so I would say to our graduating class and the graduating classes around the world, if you're good, you will find a job. And especially when the economy comes back, because this lockdown is not because of an economic lockdown, it's a lockdown because of health reasons. When the health disparities go away, the jobs will come flooding back out again.
Patience, in other words. So, William, thanks so much. Really appreciate it.